Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm spending a few hours in the kitchen meal prepping a few things to hopefully keep me on track with my no spend pantry challenge that I am currently in, because we have a busy week ahead of us. If you are new here, hello and welcome. My name is Sarah and I'm a homeschooling mom to two girls, ages 11 and 15. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by once again. I do really appreciate you. So today's video is all about meal prepping and kind of making my life easier for the upcoming week by prepping a whole bunch of stuff today. Now I'm just going to spend a couple of hours in the kitchen this morning, tackling a few recipes like breads and, tortillas, and I'm going to make a pot of beans. I want to prep a couple of crockpot meals, so I'm going to be tackling a lot of those things that I could do ahead of time just to make my life easier this upcoming week, because I overscheduled us without thinking about it. And honestly, some of it just kind of happened. It was just that time of year where it was, time for our routine, doctor's appointments, and my kids have orthodontist appointments next week as well. I have a couple of meetings that came up at the last minute. So yeah, we're overscheduled, but it wasn't like intentional. I didn't mean to overschedule us. So when I was looking at my calendar, I told my husband, I said, wow, I'm going to be gone almost every day this upcoming week, and I still need to feed everybody, and I still need to homeschool. So yeah, lots going to be going on next week, which is fine. It's only 1 week that's going to be hectic. But I do definitely want to prep and plan and make as much food as I possibly can to help me during this more chaotic and busy time. And I am currently in a no spend pantry challenge right now. So going out to eat, picking up something quick, that is not an option for us right now. So that is another reason why I wanted to focus on making a ton of things in advance to help me stay on track with my no spend pantry challenge. But what I'm currently working on in the video is actually making a ton of bread. That is the first thing that I usually start with when I'm prepping everything, when I'm meal prepping anyway, because you have to let your bread rise. And the bread that I make, they usually rise twice. So that's up to 2 hours in just rise time for bread. So I really like to start off with bread. But I am currently making a cinnamon swirl bread. Now I have shared this recipe on my channel before, but this is just one of those recipes that are a go-to for me and my family. We love this recipe, and I like to make a couple of loaves at a time so that I could freeze it, because it makes really simple French toast. I mean, you could pull it from the freezer and pop it into the toaster and just have some cinnamon toast with butter as a snack, so it's really easy, and I love to have it on hand because it's like one less thing I have to think about. If we have a busy morning but we want kind of like something tasty, we can have some cinnamon toast, or I could just whip up a quick batch of French toast using this bread, and it saves me a lot of time preparing it like this. But I ended up turning one of the loaves of this cinnamon bread into cinnamon rolls, and that's something I haven't done before, but spoiler alert, guys, they came out so good. So I'll definitely be doing that in the future. They came out really tasty. You will see them in this video. I thought they were really pretty too. I thought they came out really nice looking. I never made, well, I have made cinnamon rolls from scratch, but I never made a cinnamon roll recipe that I was like super happy with. I always just felt like, yeah, these are okay, But this one, when I made it out of this bread, I thought that they were so good. I was so happy with it. But now I am currently working on some sandwich bread. Now, this was one of the recipes that I tried for the first time during this no spend month. I make a lot of bread a lot of the time, but we haven't really found a good like sandwich bread that we enjoyed, but this one is definitely a winner. Now, this is just a basic white sandwich bread, a basic loaf of white bread, but my family really liked this one. Now, this one recipe, I'll link it down below. It makes 2 loaves, so it is more than enough bread. Again, I'm definitely going to be freezing some of this, but it was really good. I mean, by the time I was done filming this video, we had already started eating this bread, so there was a few slices missing from the bag, but it is just really tasty. And my kids don't really like a lot of would it be flavored breads? I don't know, but my kids really like just a basic plain white sandwich bread when it comes to making sandwiches. They don't like all the bells and whistles. They're not huge on a lot of like seeds and nuts on their bread. They're not into all of that. My husband and I, we're not picky. We'll eat any bread. We just love bread. But my kids, they really enjoy just a basic plain like white sandwich bread. And this one worked out so well. Now I'm also making some, what is it called? Now I can't think of the name of the bread, you guys. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm also making some French bread. Now the recipe that I'm using is one that I've shared on my channel before. Again, I will link the French bread recipe down below as well, but it makes 2 loaves of French bread. And again, I'm going to be freezing some of this, but I'm going to be freezing it as easy garlic bread. So that's what I'm currently working on right now, is that French bread. This is the last of the breads I think I'm making, and then I move on to tortillas. But this French bread recipe is really, really good. It's really easy. It's very similar actually to the white bread that you just watched me make, but it is really tasty. And if you can't go through both of the loaves fast enough, you could definitely freeze some of it like I do in this video, where you just slice it up and you can just, freeze it sliced, or you can make a garlic butter like I do later in this video and just kind of freeze it as a quick garlic bread. Or you can even turn it into some really tasty croutons. This makes really great croutons once it starts to go a little stale, I guess you can say, once it starts to get a little hard. So this is a really versatile like French bread recipe that you can use. And again, it's really, really tasty and pretty simple to make. So it's just, again, it's all about it having to sit and rise that takes the time. But I mean, it's definitely worth it. It's just making bread in my house. Look at all of this bread, you guys. 2 in the oven, 2 on the counter. I mean, a ton of bread I just made, but that's what's hard for me. It's hard to keep up with the amount of bread that we like to eat. So I always make a whole bunch and then just freeze it. And then once we're low, I'll just make more. So now I've moved on to making some flour tortillas. Now I make flour tortillas all the time, so I don't really have a recipe to share that is my own, but I will link one down below that is very similar, that uses the same ingredients and stuff like that I use. It's just, I don't really measure anything out when I make tortillas. I've been making them since I was a child, honestly. I've been making tortillas since I was really little. So I don't really measure any of the ingredients out anymore. I just kind of go off of how it feels. But they're really simple ingredients to make flour tortillas. Like I just use lard, flour, salt, warm water, and a little bit of baking powder. And that is it. It is really inexpensive to make, and they are just so much better than store-bought. So if this is something that you've been considering making, that you've been kind of like hesitant on, or you think are going to be challenging, it is not. They are so easy to make, so inexpensive, and just so much better than what you can find at the grocery store. So I definitely recommend you giving them a try. Also, the same when it comes to corn tortillas. Like corn tortillas are extremely easy to make. I mean, for me, I do have a tortilla press. So, when I make corn tortillas, I do use a tortilla press. So it is easier for me. But still, they are really easy to make, and they are just so much better fresh. Definitely recommend it. I love making fresh corn tortillas. Whoa, I said that weird. Corn tortillas, and then turning them into, chips by just like frying them up in a little bit of oil. They're just so good. So I do recommend making your own tortillas, whether it's corn or flour, if that's something that you've been considering, because they're just so much better. But anyway, now I have moved on to prepping a couple of crock pot meals. Now this first one that I'm prepping is Mississippi roast. Super simple recipe. It's a packet of au jus seasoning, a packet of ranch seasoning, some pepperoncinis. I like to throw in a little bit of the pepperoncini juice. It is a stick of butter, and then meat of your choice. I am using a beef roast in this one because that's how we prefer it, is with beef. And that's because what I had on hand as well. But I have had it with chicken and it's still good, but we do prefer it with beef. But this is something that my family really loves. They love this recipe, and the fact that it's a crock pot meal makes it a wonderful choice for this upcoming week. So I'm really excited about this one. And we're only a family of 4, so this huge roast here is going to last us more than one meal. So that's another reason why I wanted to make this one this week, because this will not just cover one dinner. It will probably cover a dinner and a couple of lunches. So I'm really looking forward to that. One less thing I have to cook during the week. Now, this next one that I am preparing is actually a French dip sandwich crock pot recipe. This is my oldest daughter's favorite. She loves this one. We just love sandwiches, honestly. I mean, we are a sandwich family. But this one is really, really good, and it'll go really great with the French bread that I am, basically waiting to rise right now that I've made today. It'll go really great with that French bread. But I just thought it'd be really convenient to get all of the ingredients out now and get everything prepared so that all I have to do later in the week is pull out the bag and plop it into the crock pot. It just makes it even more convenient, less cleanup later. I'm not scrambling in the kitchen to try and get it together. So I was really excited that I got these together. And because I'm in a no spend, I was finding that I was running out of things that I was hoping I would still have when I was preparing some meals. So just preparing it in advance, make sure that I still have everything that I need for what I had intended on cooking. So that's another reason why I'm doing that. Now, this onion that you just watched me slice, I don't know why I sliced it up. It was on my list to slice an onion, but then I didn't know why, because none of the recipes that I was looking at that I had planned called for an onion. So I don't know why I wrote down on my to-do list to slice an onion. So I decided to just throw that sliced onion in the freezer and I'll use it later. But yeah, I just kind of randomly started slicing that onion. So you're not going to see that onion in any of the recipes today. But yeah, it's not going to get wasted. But now back to the bread. So now that the bread is ready, I'm just going to go ahead and shape all of the bread into the loaves and how I want to cook them up. So that's what you're going to be watching me do. The first couple of loaves are that cinnamon swirl bread that I'm going to be working with. So as I'm, shaping all of this bread, I thought that we can talk about how our no spend month is actually going. Now, I'm going to start off by saying it's actually going really well when it comes to the pantry challenge, when it comes to not spending a lot at the grocery store. I'm sticking to our budget. I have been making a lot more from scratch. Everything's been going good there. But this no spend pantry challenge really did open my eyes to some of the expenses that we had that I didn't realize were getting kind of out of hand. Like, we had a couple of subscriptions that I found that I was able to cancel. So we no longer have those expenses, every single month anymore. And it was like little things like, when they get you, and they're like, oh, try, free 7-day trial of this. And you're like, yeah. And then you forget to cancel. I had a couple of those that I was able to cancel. So that's good that I was able to find those, locate them, get rid of them. Also, I was able to call in to a couple of the bill companies I have for our cell phone and our internet. And I was able to talk to them and actually get our bill lowered. Sometimes all you have to do is ask. So do keep that in mind. If you feel like one of your bills is getting out of hand, you can always call and just see. All they could do is say no, and then you're just in the same boat, So I did call and they were able to slightly lower our internet bill, and I was able to lower our cell phone or, phone bill. So I was able to do a few of those things there to help cut back on expenses. But where I was getting, I guess I could say where things were getting more challenging is, that if you watch my no spend month video, I talked about having a $50 budget every week for fresh produce and dairy. Now, this year, I feel like I'm really not getting much for $50. So it has been really challenging for me to really stay under that $50 budget. I mean, last year it was a little challenging. I had the same budget, the same $50 a week, but I felt like I was able to get a whole lot more with that $50. And this year it's been much more challenging. So I've been relying a lot more on some of our frozen fruits and vegetables that we had in our deep freezer. I am getting a little bit out of the garden, our backyard garden. So that's helping a little bit, but yeah, it's a lot less than I was even thinking. And I'm not saying I'm unaware of the cost of things at this point, but when I set this budget and I could see exactly what $50 is getting me, yeah, it was eye-opening, you guys. It was definitely eye-opening. And going forward, I do feel like there's a lot of things that I could cut out when it goes to our grocery budget moving forward after February. So there are some things that I feel like I need to focus on to maybe, plant more in my garden this year, have a little bit more variety for those things that cost more. I mean, last year I got frustrated with the cost of asparagus, you guys. So you know what I did? I planted 20 asparagus plants in my backyard. I just feel like that's what I need to do again. I need to reevaluate the things that we enjoy the most and try to grow it myself. So another area that I really need to cut back expenses on is our homeschool budget. I do keep a budget for our homeschool every single year. We do always stay within that budget, but I'm not even going to try and pretend that the budget that I have for our homeschool hasn't been large in the past. We did set aside quite a bit to, pay for curriculum, to pay for experiences for our kids, to pay for classes and all of that. So I'm not going to even pretend to act like we didn't do that. We were spending a ton of money on homeschooling, and obviously homeschooling is something that is super important to me. So I really don't want to cut it back too much, but there are areas that I am noticing that I am way overspending when it comes to homeschooling. When I started our no spend month and our pantry challenge this month, this is also the time that I kind of look at and put aside like a budget for the following, for the next homeschool year. So I was looking at putting a budget together for the 2024-2025 homeschool year, and what we have available to use is a lot less. So I do need to rethink the way that I am purchasing items for our homeschool. And again, I have already found so many things that I could cut back on. Like, one of those areas is purchasing books. Now, I am not the type of person to say, no, I'm not going to buy you a book. I will buy books every single day, every single minute. I love to read. My kids love to read. But I want to focus on the books that I am purchasing. I want to focus it on books that we're actually enjoying, not books that we're reading one time and then we're getting rid of, because there are certain books that we've used in our homeschool to go along with lessons that I could have just got from the library. Like, I could have just checked it out from the library. I didn't need to buy it, but I kind of fell into this, like, it was more convenient to just buy it than to have to go to the library. I could just order it on Amazon and have it delivered. I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad, but for my family at this time and for trying to cut back expenses, that is not the best habit for me to continue. So I do want to make sure that I am cutting back on certain books, certain supplies in our homeschool that we just don't really need to purchase, because we're using it one time. Again, some of these books that I'm purchasing, we don't even care for, so we don't even finish them. But now I've spent, $5, $10, $15 on a book that we didn't even completely read. So I want to just focus our budget on books that I know we're going to enjoy, books that I know my kids are really looking forward to, books that I may use more than once, but that also kind of translates over to our homeschool supplies as well. Oh my gosh, real quick, I'll get back to what I was talking about, but you just watch me chop another onion, you guys. When I was filming this, I could not remember what that onion was for earlier. It was for this pot of beans that I'm trying to put together. And then guess what, guys? I forgot that I had chopped that onion previously, and I chopped another onion. I'm telling you, I am very forgetful. I really need to write everything down, but I am currently focusing on making a pot of beans right now. But yeah, that was just insane. I was like, where's the onion? Like, where does this onion go? And it was for the beans. I completely forgot. But anyway, back to the homeschooling stuff. So I just really want to cut back even on like our art supplies. Some of our art supplies that I've noticed that we have purchased, we really don't need 7,000 different pens. I could get a couple of different pens and we would be just fine. I've been noticing that we have so many different items that are very similar. There are ways that I could definitely cut back. I mean, my kids don't really use a lot of construction paper anymore. There's no reason I need to buy construction paper every single, month or every couple of weeks. We're not using it like we used to, so these are definitely things that I could cut back on, maybe only buy once a year. But I realized when I was going through my cleaning challenge, when I was going through this no spend month, that there's a lot of stuff that I'm buying just because that's what I do every year. Not necessarily because we need it. Does that make sense? Like, it was like habit almost. You know, it was like a tradition. I'm buying these crayons. My kids don't even use crayons. So, like, why am I buying them? So that's what I'm talking about here. I'm really trying to cut back on certain art supplies, which honestly, art supplies can be extremely expensive. So I feel like that's going to help out a lot. And then also, again, cutting back on certain books. I'm not saying that I'm not going to be purchasing books. That is not that is not what I am agreeing to. I will always buy books, but just paying attention to the books that I am purchasing, making sure that these are things that we're going to enjoy and not just one time, you know, because we are the type that we will pick up the same book over and over and read it because we just enjoy it. So I just want to make sure that I'm not purchasing books I don't need. I want to utilize the library more. I want to utilize the Libby app. I want to do things like that to help cut back the budget. But I am currently in the video. What am I doing? Oh, I am making garlic butter. So my kids don't really like the flavor of a really harsh garlic. So I always kind of like not roast it. I always like to kind of like cook it on the stovetop a little bit to just kind of help mild the flavor. So that's what I was doing there. And I'm just going to add that to this French bread. And I'm just going to, put it in the freezer and stuff. But again, I'm really focusing on cutting a lot back, and I'm not saying that buying convenience items every now and again is a bad thing. I think that it's great sometimes for saving your sanity to help you out along the way. But I find that over time, I start to rely on that a whole lot more instead of the skills that I do have that can help us save money. So that's really what I'm trying to get at here, is making sure that I'm spending, my husband's our hard-earned money wisely. I mean, look how nice that cinnamon bread came out, you guys. Did you see that? I'm super impressed with myself right now. But no, I'm just packaging this up to freeze it. Again, I like to freeze a ton of this to just have it on hand. But again, I'm just trying to be mindful. I'm just trying to be mindful with the way that we are spending our money. And I don't want to be wasteful anymore. And I'm finding that that's how I am spending our money. I am getting a little wasteful. I am here to admit that. But with me acknowledging it means that I could fix it, right? It means that I could work on that. So that is what I am going to do. But all I'm doing now is I'm just packaging up the bread. I am just getting it ready to put in the freezer. Again, we will not be eating all of this bread in 1 week. This will cover a little while. This will cover a little while for us, but I like to make a ton at one time, again, because I only dirty the kitchen once when it comes to making bread, and a lot of bread ingredients are the same, for different loaves. So you're only pulling things out once, just making my life easier. But I do want to say we did eat through this garlic bread extremely fast. I do feel like next time I make this frozen or easy freezable garlic bread, I need to at least double it, because we went through this garlic bread so quickly. I really underestimated the amount of garlic bread my youngest daughter could eat. So that is definitely something that I'll need to up the quantity of next time I make it. But it was super easy to make and put together. So again, I will be making more next time. And this garlic bread actually went really, really great with the French dip sandwiches. I ended up serving that French dip sandwich on Valentine's Day because, again, it's like a hit in my household. But this is everything that I prepped for the upcoming week. I'm super happy with the outcome. I got a ton of bread made. I got some cinnamon rolls, which I did not frost yet, but I will frost those when we go to eat them. We did not eat them the same day, so that's why they're like that. But I have 3 jars of beans ready, which I was able to share with my brother. I have tortillas made. I mean, everything just really, really worked out today, so I'm super happy. But that is it for today. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by. You have a great day. Bye.